Mission Impossible Rogue Nation is the 5th installment of the Mission Impossible franchise, which of course follows Ethan Hunt, who is stuck in a very sticky situation once again, wherein the IMF is having an internal dispute with the CIA, and there's this real incredible distrust that takes place through the course of the film that leads to the events that occur throughout. And I do have to say that Mission Impossible Rogue Nation is a really exciting, enthralling, thrilling, and just fun film. While I will admit that there are a lot of things, even fundamentally, that I'm not necessarily a fan of with the film, a lot of things that should be considered more important with regards to the film that I didn't necessarily enjoy, I think what it still mainly and basically sets out to do, that is presenting you with incredible action sequences, a whole lot of intensity, it does really well. While admittedly so, some of the special effects are absolutely gorgeous. I mean, having Tom Cruise hang off the side of a plane, of course, is the stunt that is selling this film. I do have to say, however, there are a few brief moments here and there wherein the more computer-generated images appear artificial, and more artificial than they should. It does detract from what I believe is one of the big selling points of this film, and one of the main things that I enjoyed about this film, that is the action sequences that, yes, I will tell you, are crazy. There's some of the best and most exciting and well shot and well paced sequences I've seen in a very long time. However, all that aside, even some of the incredible humor and banter that takes place between Benji and Ethan, something that feels natural, a lot of friendships that are really well presented on screen, even a certain rivalry between Jeremy Renner and Alec Baldwin that does take place in a very interesting take on CIA versus IMF. I still do have to say that there are brief moments with, you know, the basic mission and some of that storyline that isn't as exciting. In fact, when there's a lot of dialogue taking place between some of the villains, in fact, it's really just a moment where I can imagine people zoning out and it not being relevant, because ultimately it's not a film that expects the audience to sort of engage themselves that much within it, because it's not a film that strives for that much depth. It's not a film that aims to go the extra step, as we might have seen in a recent James Bond film, to really focus on the character and make it relevant in the much larger scheme of things, when there were elements in earlier films of the franchise with regards to Ethan Hunt and, say, his wife being far more relevant at the forefront, while his friendships are now at stake, and that's certainly well developed, and you do see his character develop somewhat. A lot of the other characters seem to be there just as a means to an end, kind of, amongst, yet again, I will reinstate, some of the greatest action I've ever seen. And it's just so hard to rate this film and review it from that perspective, that yes, it does achieve what it sets out to do almost to perfection, but what it sets out to do is at the expense of some things that I believe are basic and fundamental to films themselves with regards to story and character. And it sort of causes a bit of a dilemma in my head, because the more time I've had since Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, I will admit the less I have enjoyed it, the more that I, of course, think about it once again. Although I do believe it is worth a second watch at some point that I will undertake. It's a film that needs to be viewed on the biggest screen possible. It's a film that, you know, knows what it's doing, and I feel like to some extent thought it could get away with doing just that much, but in my personal opinion, while I did really love the experience of Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, it holds itself back from greatness by not pushing just that extra inch further in this almost perfectly paced, intense, incredible, strictly action film. I'm gonna give Mission Impossible Rogue Nation a double yes.